and welcome to the only channel that you watch that can screw up a video and have a really great time with it. So, I made a video a couple of days ago that was really important. That video generated 5 other videos that said they were scheduled for the future. And when I went and delete those scheduled for the future videos, you guessed it, it deleted the one you got a notification for and probably didn't have a chance to watch. So, I'm doing a great job on my channel. That's all I really know how to say at the moment. Um, yeah. So, hello and welcome back to the news that didn't make the news. How's it going, everybody? Happy Saturday night. Hello, Dawn. Hope you had a wonderful trip to Texas with all those babies on flight. Hopefully that was quiet and peaceful for you. So I made what I thought was an extremely important video a couple of days ago. It generated 5 videos. I went into and I clicked on the videos that were generated for future. That is the one I clicked on to delete. And I had a feeling that it was going to do this because it did it to me one other time. So it deleted that video. And I thought, well, maybe that's just meant to be. Maybe we just weren't meant to have that video. I think 300 of you watched my video from 3 days ago that I accidentally deleted. I am so tired of I'm so tired of myself. I'm tired. I'm sick of my own shit when it comes to this channel. I really, I guess that's too bad. And in the 2.5 or 3 years I've had this channel, it's happened to me twice that I've deleted a really important video. And that sucks. And I was sad. And I shed some tears on my hour drive into work. I'm having a great time with everything. So I am staying with my girlfriend, the graciousness and kindness of her heart, but I'm looking for a way to get back into the area where all my clients are in one area. That's the area where I used to live. So the landlord that rented me my last beautiful, amazing apartment that had so many issues in the end with a neighbor and all of that, I called her and I said, do you have any apartments? And she said, yeah, I do. Why don't you go look at it? Just go down there and call me and I'll tell you how to get in when you get there. And I was like, okay. So I walk in there and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then I went into the kitchen and I got to tell you guys, the kitchen was absolutely to die for. I've never seen anything like it in my life, right? So I'm like, this place is huge. Surely this is not in my budget. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. She sent me pictures of this place before and I'm like, you know what my budget is. Why did you send me a $1,900 apartment? So anyway, I didn't realize that's where I was until I thought I was done looking at the apartment and I went upstairs and there was a whole second floor. So there was, God, 2 or 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 living rooms, the coolest kitchen I've ever seen, a backyard, a huge deck. And I called her and I said, I'm pretty sure this is like 10 times the amount of my price range that you and I discussed. And she's like, I know, but you were such a good tenant at the other building. I'm willing and ready to rent it to you for only $1,500 a month. I'm like, oh, that's great. She's like, maybe you could just find a roommate. I'm like, have you been out in society lately? And she chuckled and I said, how do you suggest I find a roommate in this chaotic and insanity that is the third dimension right now? And she laughed and I said, what do you want me to do? Go to the grocery store and try to pick up a husband this weekend? And I got another laugh. So thank you for showing me something that's $1,300 above my budget. I do appreciate that. But I walked in there and I'm like, oh my God, this place cannot be in my price range. And I've been talking to her on and off for months, so she knew what my price range was. But anyway, um, I about I about fell to the floor when I saw how beautiful this kitchen was. And you guys, if you know me, my apartment could literally be a huge kitchen and a huge bedroom, and I'd be fine with that. I can't seem to find any happy medium. And in my price range, apartments are about 250 square feet. So if I gain 10 pounds or have a slice of cake, I won't even be able to turn around in that apartment. So anyway, um, I'm so sorry that I deleted such an important video. I debated, do I want to do it? Um, yeah, exactly. Favorite place, definitely the kitchen. Well, I'm glad you're here and commenting, Don. I had some weird stuff going on in the last video, and I had a bunch of really crazy comments from some guy that started with my lips and only went on from there. So I stopped looking at the comments, but I wasn't even sure that they were working. And anyway, I don't know what goes on with YouTube. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, so the last video was about the extreme energy of Pluto moving into Aquarius. Pluto is the wrecking ball to anything in your life or in our reality on the world stage that's not for the sake of expansion. So Pluto, the planet Pluto, is all about expansion and then moving into Aquarius, and it's done this a couple times, and now it's retrograding back into Capricorn to tie up loose ends. And then on November 19th, Pluto moves into Aquarius to like 2044 or something. Yeah, so going back into Capricorn to get grounded, pick up speed, tie up whatever loose ends you have going on in your life, and then we're going back. Okay, so Aquarius is about unity consciousness. It's about we the people as opposed to big business, big government, big industry. Okay, so Pluto, expansion, wrecking ball to anything that's not unity, unity consciousness, and power to the people. This is huge. The last time we had this energy was in 18 something, and we had the American Revolution, and I believe some other war. I don't even remember off the top of my head. I don't want to go too deeply into rehashing the whole video from last time for those people who saw that video for last time. A good amount of you did see that. But one of the really important things from that is in our family line, in our family lineage, we go from generation to generation to generation to generation, right? Back and forth, up and down the ancestral line. And within our family, within our ancestral line, we carry those hurts, we carry those pains, we carry those indoctrinations, we carry those programmings, not only from the third dimension, but also from our family. So when you feel like, what's my issue? Why am I struggling? I'm just looking for an apartment, or I'm just trying to get myself out of a marriage, or I'm just trying to find a new job, or something like this seems very personal and like it shouldn't be that difficult. But the thing is, there is a person in a, a lot of families right now. I won't say it's every family, but it's a lot of people that came in at this time of the switchover between the 26,000 year cycle. If you've been watching, I've been talking for 2 years about clearing, cleaning, transmuting your life, transforming and transmuting yourself, and course correcting. As I told you probably a couple weeks ago, my information from higher self was that the new 26,000 year cycle started on March 21st of 2024. So just think about that. What are the chances, or should we say the synchronicity or the soul drive, that would have you as an individual come in here and be here for 20 to 50 years? when we started a new 26,000 year cycle. That's so completely fascinating, very exciting, very, very, very exciting to me. This is a new chapter, this is a new time, and none of these things are done by accident, right? So, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, Mercury retrograde, all of these cosmic events that we look at that are larger than us or larger than life, they're really not. And every one of those things is completely and totally orchestrated. Now, as a civilization and as a humanity, now we keep track of days and weeks and months and years, right? And usually not much more than that. We are very focused on linear time when it comes to days, weeks, months, and years. We are we have forgotten, it has been removed, the information has been removed. Many people have been looking at it, looking it up, and studying it for the last several decades. But all that amazing information from the Mayans, the Incans, all these elder tribes that have been on this planet millions of years before us, they all took note and took count of these long calendars, right? So not just days, weeks, months, and years, right? But 52-year cycles, 12,000 year cycles, 52,000 year cycles, the 26,000 year cycle. It's and so on and so on and so on, because they knew that with these information, this tribal information that had been passed down generation after generation, that it was very important for us to know what happened in the long count calendars that has been removed. And I know some of you know about it, have seen it, have even studied it or watched Ancient Aliens or some of the other places that talk about the importance of the long count calendar. And I'm sure if you have access to that, or you have gotten access or done any studying into that, that would be really probably pretty mind blowing in what we're going through now. I'm sure all the information regarding the solar cycle and all of that stuff is in there. Okay, so you can think about this a couple ways. At first, when I started to realize that solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, um, comets coming back around, um, Mercury retrograde, all of these things that happen, the solar flash, the solar flare, all of these things are completely and totally orchestrated. There are no natural phenomenons when it comes to those type of things that we look at as cosmic or universal, or that are we tend to think that they are part of nature. Okay, what I'm telling you is they are not. The solar So the solar eclipse itself forms a portal or a vacuum that pulls all the negativity off the planet every time we have every time we have a solar eclipse. When we have a lunar eclipse, the opposite happens, as I saw it. So the solar eclipse pulls all the negativity off the planet, hence them working on all these crazy psyops for the April 8th, 2024 eclipse. The idea behind doing this and generating all this fear-based psyop information was it so that it could make enough chaos on the planet that it couldn't all possibly be vacuumed when we had that portal opening, that vacuum energy, that solar eclipse that pulled that energy off the planet. And so when we have a lunar eclipse, then there's a portal, the same kind of thing, right? A portal opens and it pulls all this omniversal, positive, high frequency energy in. And with that comes information, with that comes recalibration, harmonic adjustment, and all of that. So all of those things are completely and totally created, have been created, and the cycles have been created for us. Now, as we know, those organic or created creation cosmology events have been set up to cleanse the earth, to help humanity evolve, to help us expand consciousness, and all of those things. But there is a side that who has always worked to sabotage that. Just so we know that. But the original idea, the original creation of it was for we the people, not against we the people. Okay. And one of the things the energy did here within this last April solar eclipse, and let's not get stuck on, okay, it was on the 8th, so that's over, because you would have felt that 4 weeks prior to the solar eclipse, and the energy will be here 5 to 6 months after. But one of the main things that did was it was here as a gift to you and I, to us, so that we could release these themes and these generational curses, if you will. Okay, so we come in at the end of this 26,000 year cycle, literally carrying the weight in a very energetic fashion, right? So we carry the weight of our ancestors. The continued theme just keeps running down the family line forever and ever and ever, generation after generation. We have the same family themes, and many people have called these generational curses, right? So pre-birth, there was a group of people, you know who you are, that in the family line come in this time and decide to end it. Okay, so to end that theme, to end that curse. So we allow and invite ourselves to feel deeply enough that we can walk through that pain and end that cycle, so it doesn't keep going down the family line. So what I'm saying to you, when you are trying to get yourself out of Orthodox religion, when you are trying to get yourself out of any of these 3D confines. Okay, so let's say your family has been doctors for 5 generations. Then your parents wanted you to be a doctor, so you became a doctor. Okay, so if you're the person in that family line breaking that curse, and not saying that being a doctor is a curse. All I'm saying to you is that if you don't want to do what the 5 generations before you did, that can feel very restrictive and very much like a curse. So if that's your family situation, you would be the one to come in and say, no, I don't want to do what everyone else did. I want to be an artist, or I want to be a musician, or whatever it is. Another example is you could come from a family that does not believe in divorce. Oh, if you get divorced, we're going to cut you out of the will. You won't receive an inheritance. You'll be completely cut off from the family. Will absolutely, totally disown you. Okay. But what I'm saying is it's hard, not because it's just you and the situation that sucks, because all of these situations where we come in deciding to end a generational curse, all these situations suck, whether it's a job or stopping something that has run down the family line continually. Okay, so if, for instance, you're the person, let's say, was raised with Catholicism, right, and you wanted to get a divorce, and everybody's like, "We'll disown you. The family will disown you. You'll be cut out of the inheritance, etc." Right? So there would have been many, many other people in your family line, in your ancestral history, that also wanted out of relationships, but wouldn't do it, couldn't do it, because things were way worse back there, right? So it may have meant even persecution, even death for some of the things, right? So it's not as extreme as it used to be. But if you are, and we are as a group, the group that came in to destroy this 3D paradigm that says, I have to do what my parents did for 5 generations. I have to be this doctor. I have to stay married because it goes against this thing. Or I spent 6 years and thousands of dollars getting a degree, therefore, I have to be a lawyer. Whatever it is for you. So when it seems really difficult, I just want you to know, and I want you to, remember that it's not just you getting a divorce or you no longer being a doctor and becoming, a songwriter. It's about all the generations that came before you that couldn't do it, right? Because of persecution from the family or society or whatever it is. Okay, so when I say we're breaking generational curses, that's what I mean. Um, Don is the only one commenting, and now it says there are 0 people here. So it went from 20 something people to 0 people. So Don, let me know if this is still working. YouTube gets on my absolute last nerve sometimes because I never have any idea whether it's accurate. And it seems pretty unlikely that every single person that was here would have bailed. Okay, it says 0 people here. I know Don's here, so there you go. Thank you, Don. I appreciate that confirmation. So what you signed up to do at this time is to, you know, overcome what your parents, your grandparents, um, your relatives back all the way up into this 26,000 year cycle couldn't do, didn't have the guts to do, didn't have the balls to do, were afraid of persecution, whatever it is. So, and I'm saying that to you just so you know that when it feels like, oh, I'm just getting a divorce, or oh, I'm just switching jobs, or I'm just, resigning from the medical establishment and becoming a songwriter. You want to know why it feels so freaking difficult to do that. It's because many generations after generation after generation within your family have wanted to do that, but didn't, couldn't, right? So what happens is that just keeps going down in the DNA. There was a desire in the soul, in the family, and that ancestral line to do certain things and not do certain things. Okay, so if they didn't get out of situations, then that angst of being in the wrong relationship, or the angst of being in the wrong job, or being in the wrong geographical location, or whatever it is you're experiencing, that angst is more than the angst of someone who may be just changing jobs, getting divorced, or moving geographical locations. But I want you to know that's the reason why it feels so completely heavy and very challenging and very difficult. It's because what you are doing, what you are shifting, what you are changing are the things that your ancestors wanted to change, okay, for the whole last 26,000 year cycle. And they basically didn't have the balls or the guts to do it, or they didn't want to face persecution or death. Okay, I mean, can't really blame them for that. But whatever it is that we really desire in our soul, whether that's something, a path we know we should do, and a path we know we want to be on, or something we need to get out of, whichever direction it is for you, that weighs really heavy, and it'll just keep going down the family line, kind of like alcoholism, or other things go down the family line. Okay, so even more than our health and our bad habits, these things that our ancestors or parents or grandparents, our family line wanted to do that they never did, never got a chance to do, never got a chance to change, never got a chance to transform, that keeps going down the family line. And there was a big group of us amazing volunteers that said, yes, send me to Earth. Put me in the middle of all this karmic crap. Sounds like a really good time, right? So here we are, and we're doing it. And most of us have got out of and changed and transformed very significantly in the last couple years. So what I want you to know about that is that when you are able to walk away from medicine or walk away from a marriage or walk away from an indoctrinated religion, whatever is not working for you. It not only heals, right, just Tina, or just Lynn, or just Dawn, it ripples back up. It has the ripple effect. When you finally stand up and do what is soul driven within you that came from your ancestors, that ripple of your energy of saying, nope, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm doing me, it goes back up the family line and transmutes and transforms. Just because someone's crossed over on the other side doesn't mean that your energy in changing, transforming, and making the decision they really felt called to do but never had the chance to or didn't make, it ripples back up through the family and changes that, clears that, and transforms that. Okay, but I want you to know that's why it feels heavy and that's why it feels difficult. Okay, so pre-birth, there was a large group of us that decided to end that family theme. We decided to end that family curse. So we allowed and invited ourselves to drop in to feel. And sometimes that feeling is fantastic and blissful and euphoric, and sometimes it feels like the depths of hell. Because we came in here psychic and empathic and intuitive so that we could go so deeply that we could actually allow ourselves to feel the pain. Not only my pain or your pain, but the pain of our ancestors who didn't make the change and didn't make that transformation. Okay. We feel through it enough to dive deeply into it, to walk through that pain and end that cycle that just kept going down the family line. And the people that came in to end that cycle and that generational curse, whatever name you want to call it, those are the shamans. Those are the healers. Those are the seers. And those are the prophets. Because you don't get a person that comes out the other side of bliss or euphoria without dropping down into the depths of feeling, to allow yourself, allow and invite yourself to feel that deep, excruciating pain and bliss and all of it. Okay. But if we didn't allow and invite ourselves to drop into that, we could never become the shamans or the healers or the seers or the prophets, because you have to be able to take off the blinders, right? Take off the shoes and walk that path. Okay. It is not an easy path that we signed up for. We already know that. Okay. But the people that signed up to transmute, to change that energy, not just for self, this is not about selfishness or self centeredness. It's that we know that when we change and we transform and we do the soul calling that so many before us in our family line wanted to but didn't, that ripple effect will go back and heal the whole 26,000 year cycle. Okay. Now, some of you may be working on a 12,000 year cycle, most of you 26. Some of you could even be 52,000 years of this crap going down the family line over and over and over again. Okay. So, one of the things that comes with that when we sign up for that transmutation and being the change or the catalyst to change in that family line is we will want and sometimes feel the need to pad ourselves from the things that are happening around us, right? The more empathic, the more intuitive, the more psychic you are, and the more you meditate or hone in on these skills, whichever way you do it, the stronger those skills, gifts, and talents become. So when you go into the grocery store or Walmart or the library or the BMV, wherever you're going, you start to feel everyone's stuff. And it becomes too much for a while until we learn how to redirect and balance out our own internal harmony, because it can be a real pain in the ass, right? If you're standing in the BMV and you're hearing people what they want to have for dinner or their abusive relationship with their spouse or whatever. This went on for years for me, and I know it's happened to many of you as well. That's hard to deal with. And the way a lot of people deal with that is they will put weight on. Now, some people will put 10 pounds on, some people will put 400 pounds on, or start hoarding. Okay, so there is no difference. When probably half the planet needs to lose 10 pounds. And this is not about a weight thing. What I'm saying is, in the more weight you have on your body, the more you are padded from other people's feelings, thoughts, emotions, everything. Okay. My weight went up and down my entire life because until I could balance it out and have that inner harmony and be able to go to Walmart or Whole Foods or wherever and not hear everyone's garbage around me, because we will then have a proclivity to either, put on extra weight to pad ourselves. The more weight we have, the harder it is for other people's thoughts and energy and stuff to just seep through our field. Okay. Some people do that in their house. Okay. So a lot of people don't realize on a larger scale, the things that have been controlled and manipulated on this planet for millennia. They don't realize that, but unconsciously they feel a fear. Um, and so what they do is some people may even start collecting stuff, and it's a collection that's got out of hand. But we've all seen that there's way too many shows on hoarding. Hoarding is the same thing. Like, if you ever notice, they put it around the perimeter of every room. And what you have to realize is, whether it's stuff in your physical environment that you're hanging on to that you don't need, or there's different variations and extremes to hoarding, but hoarding and or putting on weight are to pad yourself from everyone else's thoughts and energy and all of that around you. Okay. Um, but the hoarding and the putting on weight to pad ourselves and our surroundings or our environment so we feel less never works out in our favor. So when we think or feel that we are just in our own problems, that why is this so difficult, or why is this so heavy? It's not just our problem. We have the added weight of the family line. We have the added weight of the ancestral line. So the weight of the family, the weight of the ancestral line just keeps going down until someone stands up. That would be you, and says, I'm not going to be a doctor anymore. I'm not going to be in an unhappy marriage anymore. I'm not going to stay in this area just to be next to family when you don't want me to leave anymore. Whatever it is for you. And many of you have multiple things that we are doing. We are healing what has not been healed before in us, in ourselves, and in our family line. So within the family line, there's all kinds of things besides what I was just talking about. It could be a religious attachment, right? An attachment to indoctrinated education. It could be an attachment to using our status as a way to get what we want. It could be using sex to get what we want. These are the kind of things that go down the family line. Okay, so using ourselves, our sex, our status, our money, our influence. So yeah, all of those things playing a big role in what's going on right now. Now, the importance of this is basically this one thing. Our stability does not come from religion. Our stability doesn't come from money. Our stability doesn't come from influence. Our stability does not come from status or anything else in physical reality. Security does not come from money, from status, from religion, from education, or anything in physical reality. That's super important. Okay. So to think that money and status and religion and education are a part of our security and our stability is a false sense of security. Real security can only be found outside of just 3D. So real security can only be found in love and peace and in joy. If you feel your money or your status or your education or your religion or any of those things are a security in 3D, they are not a security. That's what you're taught to believe, and that's what you're transmuting and changing so we can leave that behind. Okay? So, our gift right now is rethinking and redefining what we believe to be possible. What can we create? How are we going to create that? How are we going to work with other people? This is about shifting. It's about a higher frequency on a higher timeline where we work in tandem with each other and the creator source of this reality. This is a time when we are shifting from individualism to cooperation. This is a time when we're shifting from big banks, big agri, big pharma, corporations, music industry, big picture out there, external. This time about Pluto and Aquarius is us shifting out of big corporations, big pharma, big agri. Okay, it's about us farming for ourselves. It's about us healing and finding a way to heal with plant medicine on planet Earth. Okay, so whatever is set up for control and manipulation when it comes to these giant corporations are the things that will be hit with this wrecking ball of Pluto moving into Aquarius. It's about innovation and having a new approach and a new perspective. It's about our human soul in relationship to the world, our human soul in relationship to each other and what we want, and our human soul in relation to the cosmos, and our human soul rethinking and redefining what we think and what we feel is possible. The last thing I want to say briefly is about the recalibration of the sun. Many of you follow space weather. I think we've had 2 or 3 M-class flares. I can't even keep up. I know it's got to be at least 9 or 10 days in a row. And I made a joke with my girlfriend. How many M-class flares does it take to make an X? Because it doesn't feel like we're walking on Earth right now. And they know, all the people that have been sent to the moon, like once you get up into a certain part of the atmosphere, right? Those people are never the same again. And some have a religious experience and go in one direction. Some have the other exact opposite kind of experience and going into a negative direction. But what everyone knows from all these supposed excursions into space, is once you get to a certain part of the atmosphere, you are not the same. Okay, so when we're walking around with 2 or 3 M-class flares for 10, 12, however many days this has been going on, it's not like we're walking in the energy of Earth. Everybody keeps asking me, why am I dizzy? Why are people falling all around me? Why are my ears weird? Why am I seeing stars like Tom and Jerry? Okay, think about the sun giving off that much plasma day after day after day. So it's just like we are walking around on Earth in the energy that we would be if we were walking around on another planet somewhere out in the cosmos, or if we were actually walking on the sun. Okay, and the last thing I want to say on that note is the sun is changing us. It's mutating us. It's upgrading us. It's repairing cellular damage done to the DNA. It's turning on what scientists call junk DNA. It's repairing itself. it's healing itself. Okay. So with solar photonic light, we are being altered and we are being transformed. Those that have been around since my early days of making videos will remember that in 2018 was the very first time I actually felt crazy coming on here and saying this, that I was walking 3 miles and then I'd sit on the hill and then walk 3 miles and sit on the hill and meditate. And I would do this till I walked like 9 miles. And I closed my eyes and I started seeing this huge geometry spread over the course of the sun. And I started having this conversation with the sun. And the sun said, that sounds weird, doesn't it? And the sun said to me that it's essentially like a TV or a projector or a two-way computer screen. So the sun told me it puts up a picture on its projector, on its screen, a sacred geometry, and then the human body will acclimate to it, receive it. That'll upgrade the DNA. It'll make these other things come online, or the gifts will be amped up or accelerated every time this happens. So, like a projector or a television or a two-way computer, the sun will show you sacred geometry and you will acclimate to it. Now, this is why and where the term children of the sun came from. I don't know how many people or if every person has the capability, because, when I receive this kind of information, the last thing I'm ever thinking about is, oh, is this just a small group of people? Or I never ask any questions like this. So the sun shows us a sacred geometry shape. Okay. We will get it no matter where we are. Where we want to get it is outside, where it's completely clean. All of a sudden, I am burning up. We want to get the solar upgrade, the DNA upgrade outside where the energy is clean, because inside it's running up through the grid, through dirty electricity, it's mixing with Wi-Fi and everything else. But either way, you're going to get it. So the sun as a television or a two-way computer shows you this sacred geometry. Your body then acclimates to that, upgrades itself, and then when you step back outside, the sun can read you. Okay, so the sun is like, what, I don't even know what the word would be. Would be higher technology than a CAT scan or an MRI. Okay, so the sun gives you a code, it waits till you acclimate. When you are outside, the sun can then scan and say, okay, this group of people has totally acclimated to the last download or upgrade or sacred geometry, then it will show us another one. And this kind of blew me away, because what the sun essentially said was, I am a holographic computer or a two-way computer. So not only can I send you the code or the upgrade or the sacred geometry, I can also read when you've acclimated it to it. Otherwise, I wouldn't know when to change the picture. And I'm kind of sitting in the grass like, wow. Okay. So take that information combined with the fact that they've been doing experiments for over 100 years, maybe 150, okay, where they take a test tube with DNA with a lizard, and DNA of a frog, and then they shine photonic light from the lizard DNA over to the frog DNA, even though these are hermetically sealed test tubes, and the lizard DNA being broadcast or pushed by photonic light onto the hermetically sealed test tube of frogs changes those frogs into lizards indefinitely. Now, I knew this because David Wilcock has been talking about this for years. But what hit me recently was that was exactly what the sun was trying to tell me. I'm showing you a picture. I'm giving you an upgrade, a photonic light upgrade that's basically making you superhuman. And then I made the connection like, oh, wow, Montagnier, or whoever it was that David talks about quite often, in the experiment of taking lizard DNA and beaming it with photonic light into the frog DNA and having every generation of frog that was in that started in that test tube every generation later is still a lizard. It never goes back. So that's what's happening in this solar cycle, which is why I started talking about how we only count days and weeks and months and years for the most part on planet Earth at the moment. These long count calendars, they knew about all of this. They knew about all of it. So what I'm saying is the photonic light, and this is the greatest reason, guys, to get outside every day, at least for a half hour. The photonic light that's coming from the sun is doing the exact same thing that Montagnier did in his lab. Okay, that photonic energy being directed at the human body and directed at Earth, it is changing everything. If you've been watching this channel, I've been talking about, most of you guys know I walk 5 to 7 days a week. And I've been talking about all the changes, the trees that are blooming in Ohio that have never bloomed in Ohio, the fruit trees not losing their tree, not losing their fruit, not throwing it on the ground, all of these things. And all of these things are happening because the sun is pushing out a photonic light that is altering the DNA of every part and parcel of sentient life on this entire planet, right? I don't know how it took me this long to make the connection to the information I received in 2018 about the sun showing sacred geometry and that upgrading us forever. Yes. So, yeah, sorry, I see new people on here. There's been a lot of really weird and very rude comments in the last couple weeks. So if you're new to this channel, I am not a scientist. I am not a quantum physicist. I am not anything even close to that. What I say and what I speak about is the messages that I receive, that I integrate, the things that I write about, and the information that I receive on a personal level. It is not going to it's not going to jive with your scientific texts or your quantum physics or anything else. This is my personal information. Do with that what you will. And I usually normally say hi to people. I haven't even been doing that lately because there have been so many rude comments. Mercury retrograde was over 2 days ago. Why I cannot use my advanced settings on here and keep people who are not subscribed from this channel from commenting all the crazy things they've been commenting on my videos lately. So if my phone would like to go back to working, that would be awesome. In the meantime, because it is not on subscribers only mode, so only subscribers are the ones that can actually comment here. I haven't been looking at those comments at all just because of what has happened in the last few weeks since I haven't been able to turn those things off. Okay. I am here because part of my service to humanity is to share what I feel, what I experience, what I notice going on in the energy, and how it affects people. I don't care. Let me try to put this as nicely as I can. What you think about my appearance, my gender, my lack of scientific knowledge, or anything else. There is a group of people on a frequency that are receiving downloads and upgrades that need to know how this is translating from the energy to our physical lives. That is why I'm here, not to be a scientist, not to be a quantum physicist, not to be a spokesmodel. Okay? So, all those comments. And it's always the people that are not subscribed to this channel. Hence, me being very in favor of turning comments off to people who are not subscribed to this channel. Okay? So, this time right now, it's about us being open and vulnerable in a time where it's not easy to be open and vulnerable. The reason for us to be open and vulnerable, the reason for us to go with the flow and share our expression and our vulnerability with other people so that we can have emotional freedom, so that I can be honest, so I can speak how I feel, what I hear, what my visions are. It's just emotional freedom to be able to say how I feel or what's coming through to me. And that's for everyone. Emotional freedom, all right? You being completely free and willing to feel into what's going on within your emotional field, within your emotional state, okay? Being open, being vulnerable, and having the emotional freedom. Yeah, okay? Another thing that's coming through in the energy right now is our attachment to accumulated things in the third dimension. This is one of the things that this energy is forcing us to course correct on. Okay? So we might feel in a scarcity mindset. Now, I don't mean we don't need a place to live and a car to drive and things in our house. I don't mean that. But there's a lot of energy attached to things that we don't necessarily need. We've accumulated things. We defend things in physical reality. And so thinking that our religion or our education or our money or our status is our security is a false sense of security. Our love, our passion, our drive, our joy is our only sense of security. Okay? It's time for us to raise our sword, so to speak, and not be afraid to speak what we're feeling, what we're seeing, the visions that are coming through, our writings, whatever it is, without ridicule. And this is a big thing. And this is one of the reasons I turn the comments off here. If you are someone who's been following me for a while, you know this is all about my messages, my visions, my dreams, and my writing. It doesn't have anything to do with any indoctrinated education. I have to be able to share that. For so many people like me, so many people have told me over the last several years that sometimes when they feel the need to speak or express themselves, they get extreme anxiety or they feel heat around their feet or they see themselves being burned at the stake and persecuted in many lifetimes. This is something that I've experienced many, many, many times until I finally figured out a way around that. And that was basically telling myself that it's okay to be who I am, be free, speak no matter what, share no matter what, be open, be vulnerable, and be expressive about what is coming through to me and what I'm sharing to you, and not having to worry about the persecution that bleeds through from those other lifetimes, because it's happened to so many other people. Okay? It's important that we realize this is a time of great freedom and we should be able to speak whatever we want to speak without having those memories or those flashbacks or anything else. So we're at a time where it no longer works for us to struggle. It no longer works for us to hold things in, how we feel, our ideas, or anything else. It does not serve us to hold those things in and hold those things close to our chest, despite what people will say to us. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. Bye.